If you've ever logged into an app and seen it seamlessly fetch your information and resources without re-entering credentials, that's Identity and Access Management, IAM, in action. Let's walk through how IAM works behind the scenes, using a real-world scenario that plays out in almost every cloud-connected system. Everything starts when you, the user, try to sign into an application. That application doesn't verify your identity directly. It delegates that responsibility to a trusted identity provider or authorization server, such as Microsoft Entra ID. Your client application sends an authentication request to this identity provider, essentially asking, "Can you confirm who this user is?" The identity provider checks the credentials you provide, whether it's a username-password combo, a passkey, or biometric input. If the credentials are valid, the provider issues an ID token. This token is sent back to your client application and contains important information about you: your username, email, roles, and possibly other profile claims. This is how your application knows who you are without storing your password. Now comes the authorization step. The identity provider may ask you to consent, for example, to allow the application to access your calendar or contacts. Once you grant that permission, the provider sends back an access token. This token isn't about identity, it's about permission. It tells the resource server, this app is allowed to access this data on the user's behalf. Now the application uses that access token to make requests to a resource server. For example, Microsoft Graph, a file API, or a database endpoint. The access token is attached to each request, acting as a digital pass that proves the application is allowed to fetch or modify data. Before the resource server responds, it needs to validate the access token, usually by checking it with the original identity provider or by using built-in validation mechanisms. If the token is valid and the request aligns with what the token allows, access is granted. The resource server sends the requested data back to your client application. The full IAM flow will look something like this. You try to sign in. The app hands off the request to an identity provider. The identity provider authenticates you and issues an ID token. It also obtains your consent and issues an access token. The app uses that access token to fetch resources. The resource server validates the token and sends the response. This entire process happens in seconds, and when done right, it ensures a seamless, secure experience for both users and systems. So, what's your takeaway? IAM enables secure access through authentication and authorization. The ID token proves your identity. The access token proves your rights. Applications never store your credentials. They rely on trusted identity providers like Microsoft Entra ID. IAM streamlines secure access while enforcing zero trust principles.